if everything's going well in someone's life, they don't quite have that motivation and commitment to better their life sometimes, or really dig deep into research and explore and experiment to find how to optimize their life. So I'm grateful that I used to have really bad social anxiety because it helped propel the journey that I've been on.
Hi, this is the Nano Brown podcast. Today I am talking with GoldjacketLuke about his life, how he became the man he is today, NoFap and society. Anyways guys, let's go. So first of all, thank you so much for being in my podcast, Luke.
It's an honor.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I kind of want to dive a bit deeper into what made you the YouTuber you are now. So can you tell me, because you're well known for your NoFap content and your personal development content, and you talk a lot about spirituality and dating, society, like a lot of stuff for young and curious people. But to kind of dive a bit deeper into how you became this man, can you tell me a little bit about your, to kind of start off, like where you're from, where your childhood, stuff like that. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. I'm born and raised in LA, Los Angeles. I had a great childhood, great parents, great family. I'm very blessed in lots of ways, but one thing is, I did have a lot of social anxiety. I remember even fairly young, and I've always had very high amounts of anxiety, specifically social anxiety, and specifically at puberty is when I really noticed it peaked a lot, because I would just get tons of social anxiety around attractive girls, just a crazy amount, and I was extremely awkward around girls, especially in like high school. And I'd say about, senior year of high school, about around that time, I started to get really into personal development, spirituality. I got also pretty hardcore into like the pickup artist stuff. And I'd say it was me finding these personal development blogs, and YouTube wasn't that big at the time, but a little bit on YouTube, but kind of some websites talking about spirituality, personal development, and kind of like dating stuff that really hooked and captured me around when I was 18 or 19. So I'm 29 now, so about 10, 11 years ago, that was kind of the seeds that planted this GoldjacketLuke journey that I've been on.
So basically, without your social anxiety, you may never have started this channel.
Yeah, it's I could look back and say that social anxiety, I'm grateful that I had that social anxiety, that it's a gift in a way, because I was so anxious. It gave me more leverage to research how to better myself. I'm so anxious around girls, so how can I be more attractive around girls and get this area of my life handled, which led into learning about personal development, spirituality, law of attraction type stuff, just work ethic, pickup artist stuff, which I'm not a part of that community anymore, but I had my pickup artist phase, and so in a way there's a common saying that if everything's going well in someone's life, they don't quite have that motivation and commitment to better their life sometimes, or really dig deep into research and explore and experiment to find how to optimize their life. So I'm grateful that I used to have really bad social anxiety, because it helped propel the journey that I've been on.
Yeah, that really tells me that the people need misery in order to grow, even like this really deep and dark misery, right? It's yeah.
Yeah. It's misery can help plant the seed for growth.
Yes. So
Yeah, and it's sad how, in lots of ways for individuals or societies, it really does seem like things quite often have to get worse before people are willing to make changes or start bad. But it's like there's a saying, the enemy of the great is the good, because when things are good, we're more complacent. We don't quite have that fire in our belly to improve, you know?
yeah, exactly. It's such a weird thing, you know. They say like, what's the saying? I believe like, um, hard times create strong men, right? You know that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Strong men create easy times or good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. It's kind of that whole
Yeah.
weird cycle.
Yeah.
So you were dealing with like a lot of social anxiety and some other stuff, which
Mm-hmm.
brought you to pickup artist stuff, and that was like a stepping stone towards spirituality and Zamparion and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
you were dealing with social anxiety, and then you became kind of like a pickup artist fan. I guess I remember that phase. You talked a bit about RSD and about simple pickup. But what did this do to your social anxiety? Did it elevate it, or was it helping you? Or
Yeah, that's a great question and topic. Yeah, it was I read this book, The Game by Neil Strauss, which I don't recommend, but that was kind of the thing that got me into that community when I was 19 or 18. I was a virgin and extremely sucked with girls and completely froze, and that so these pickup artists were like, hey, this is how to improve with a woman, go down this path. And one thing about me is I'm fortunate to have had a great childhood. I think I'm a decent looking guy, and it's like on paper like lots of people almost like judge me. It's like this guy shouldn't have social anxiety.
yeah.
But it's I think it's more of kind of a neurochemistry thing that just I have, especially back then, I just had now really low levels of like dopamine, and where it's like just my brain was not firing just happy, confident neurochemistry. I was just like completely frozen around girls. It was kind of just like this dopamine thing, I think, and I've had to work on a lot over the years. But yeah, so I got into some pickup artist stuff, and I started. I had some friends who were into that stuff as well, and we got pretty serious about it. So I would approach, especially then once I was in college and in Santa Barbara, I was approaching lots of girls, mainly at nights, like at parties. In Santa Barbara, everyone's walking around the streets at night at parties, and I would just approach lots of girls on that biggest party street, and I maybe approached hundreds of girls on that street. And sometimes
Oh, wow.
a little alcohol, but usually sober, and I would approach lots of girls, or maybe not a lot, but a decent amount during the day as well. And I eventually ended up befriending two other guys who were into approaching girls and stuff like that as well. And we started that whatever prank social experiment and approaching girls channel back in 2012, whatever, which now has
I remember
3 million subscribers or something, 3 million subscribers or something like that now. Yeah, but I was one of the founders in that company. It was me, Brian, and Fred. We started together, and then we made these videos approaching girls on the college campuses and stuff, and doing pranks and social experiments and just socially courageous stuff. And then we did that for 6 months, and I lost my passion for it and started GoldjacketLuke. But looking back, it was great that it was. It really. I was getting out of my comfort zone, and it took lots of courage to go up to and talk to pretty girls. And so I exercised my courage a lot. And it was a great time of getting out of my comfort zone and learning to be more courageous. But at the same time, looking back, it was all empty. It was all for ego reasons. Like I was just, a large part of why I was doing that was because I was so socially anxious in high school, and I was like overcompensating for that. And it's like a large part of it's almost like sad to admit, but it was like I wanted people to be like, hey, look at Luke go. Look at him approaching those girls. Look how confident he is. It's kind of pathetic saying that. But like, a large part of my motivation was to like try to impress people and be like, hey, Luke can get girls. Luke is cool. And so, and I actually didn't even get that many, I don't know, quote unquote results from the approaches I was doing. It was more just kind of to put on a show for YouTube. And I was really good at approaching girls, but I was still shit at actually having genuine connections with girls. So it's like I could get a phone number, but like going on dates and actually having genuine connections with girls, I still sucked. And that was a whole another part of my journey and I feel like in lots of ways that pickup artist stuff actually made me worse with girls. It made me so into my ego and so analyzing everything. It was good for the courage, but then it just made me really. I don't even know exactly, but I feel like in lots of ways it messed me up with girls and kind of created a new set of anxieties. Yeah, I had a lot of work to do to more learn to authentically connect with girls over. So that was when I was like 20. So over the next 3, 4, 5 years, just learning more to more authentically connect with girls in a genuine way that I feel like the pickup art stuff almost messed me up,
Yeah, so what you're saying is kind of like what Shogo Garcia is saying as well. He's saying that guys are bad with women, right? And then they start the pickup artist journey where they're watching a lot of that material and they're staying on street corners all day. But he said that that they're throwing more, trash on top of the pile instead of kind of like addressing the issue.
Exactly, yeah. And Shogo Garcia, who's another YouTuber. Yeah, he was. I was hanging out with him a lot when I was 21, 22, 23, and he snapped me out of the whole pickup artist thinking, and I saw him and he was just so natural with girls and authentic with girls and honest and flowing and zero game, zero ego. It was just kind of this very natural and honest guy. And I realized, wow, this pickup artist stuff is, it's good for getting phone numbers, but to actually have genuine connections with girls, it's more about, almost like taking off all these shields and protections that we put in ourselves, and it's the best way to connect with girls is more about vulnerability, honesty, not needing to be this perfect guy, not needing to be this alpha male, but just being yourself and being vulnerable and being honest. We could go a lot deeper on that, but it's more about rather than building up these brick walls around our insecurities and trying to be this alpha confident guy, it's more about taking down those brick walls in front of us and just being vulnerable with girls and being okay about our insecurities and just connecting human to human. That's a whole process,
Yeah. So some guys who are listening to this, they may be thinking like, so you're telling me that the pickup artist industry is not the best way to get girls, but what is? And then I would immediately start thinking about Shogo Garcia and Zemperion, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was the transition I made. Both of those guys, they're coming from a loving place. They're coming from honesty and truth and vulnerability, and it's a completely different mindset and headspace from the pickup artist stuff or red pill stuff. Yeah, this stuff is about just being real and your true self and honesty and love. And not playing any games and being vulnerable and admitting insecurities and more doing that kind of deep psychological work of improving yourself as a person rather than trying to become an alpha male. Yeah, I'm curious your thoughts on all that, and I'm really glad you're familiar with Shogo and Zan too.
Yeah, well, I think that, and you just made a video about that, right? How in being red pilled or stuff like that, like it brings like a certain amount of truth with it, that, women are more attracted to the more confident guys, or, there's like 10 different, characteristics about a man, both physically and mentally, or maybe even like 15, or, that will elevate your attractiveness once you have these, right? Whether it's being good looking or being really intelligent or whatever. But, I think that you should only, work on these things, for yourself, and then, and not doing it for a woman. And then if you meet women, like you just said, when you're being, being a bit more vulnerable, instead of trying to play a certain, character or whatever, which is what like a lot of these POA guys are doing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like putting on a little act. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like I have a friend who never watched any kind of video like that, and he is, like a really confident and intelligent guy. He's like decent looking. But when he's with girls, he isn't trying that much, like a little bit, but, he's mostly being himself, and he never lets, women, being like disrespectful towards him or something. So yeah, I guess that there's, like what you're pointing out here, is that there is some kind of a nuanced way, that's, yes, I mean, you're a bit more aware about yourself and about women and about the psychology and, about what is attractive and what isn't. But when you're not so much forcing and trying to become that and trying to be cool, like you just said on school,
yeah.
I think Zamparion and Shogo Garcia are right somewhere there, and they're mixing it with some spirituality, and which I think is really amazing. But the truth is harder to grasp, right? It's not so black and white.
Definitely. The truth has to be experiential. Yeah. It's, yeah. And so it's nuanced. Everyone has their own journey.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. But I also believe that that's kind of, why I started watching your channel, is because you're trying to tap into that without giving yourself some kind of label,
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, but you had this whatever channel, and you must have had some fame, because you had all of a sudden 1 million subscribers, right?
Yeah, and so I left that channel when the channel had 400 or 500,000 subscribers, I believe.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I was recognized a decent amount just around Santa Barbara, where I lived at the time. I remember flying from LA to Minnesota, and someone recognized me at the airport. It's like, I did have a low level of fame there.
Yeah. So it wasn't so much of a shock, losing this fame and starting your own, it wasn't so much of an ego shock or something.
It's, I realized the whole fame was almost built on my ego. It was me, trying to be cool. Look at me approach these girls, do these brave things on camera, and it wasn't actually a genuine self-improvement. It was almost like I was almost like an actor. But which has some self-improvement in it. But I realized I didn't even really enjoy making the videos. Like I'd say at the beginning I enjoyed making the videos. It was fun and exciting. But after 6 months, I was like, I don't even enjoy this anymore. And so I felt fake, and I felt I was doing it for the fame or the money instead of actually doing it for myself or because I enjoyed it. It was similar to what you just said about self-improvement for yourself or self-improvement to impress a girl. It was similar to, career-wise, I was not doing it for myself anymore. I was doing it because I liked the fame, and and once I realized that, I was like, okay, I gotta stop doing this and do what I actually enjoy and what I actually find valuable and what's actually my truth, which is, sharing my insights on life about, spirituality, personal development, dating, NoFap, etc. And so then I started the GoldjacketLuke channel, and I thought, it's my newer videos aren't going to get nearly as many views as the prank videos, but that's okay because it's my truth. I felt a calling towards it, and I felt like if I followed that calling, that the universe or God would kind of have my back, and I wouldn't be as famous or anything, but at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. That's all just ego. and to actually to follow my calling. I kind of trust the life that if I followed that calling to do what I actually enjoy and what I felt like could help the most people too, I found lots of genuine value to share. And so if I followed that more path of the heart, that, the God or the universe would have my back. And so that I was actually, pretty easy to let go of the fame, because it was more entering my spiritual journey, or, the journey of following my truth.
Wow, that sounds like at such a young age you were pretty much already in line with this whole, universe, God thing, and just basically just letting go and trusting the path and trusting the universe. Like at such a young age, it's pretty impressive.
I got into Alan Watts and law of attraction stuff, and the Steve Pavlina blog that talked a lot about trusting life and following your path of the heart. And yeah, Alan Watts was a big influence on me, and I was digesting lots of this stuff. Yeah, I think it's partly because I got some of that fame and I wasn't happy, and if anything, I felt now I almost have this fame to protect, and the fame didn't make me happy at all. If anything, the opposite. And so I realized, okay, there's got to be another way to find happiness, and so I turned more towards spirituality. Yeah, and I got into that 21, 22, and I was raised kind of Christian, but a relaxed Christian, so I did have some spirituality and religion growing up, which was a foundation of trusting God, having faith.
Okay, so your parents are Christian?
Yeah. My parents are Christian, but they're more relaxed Christian, that God is love. And but I still went to church almost every Sunday as a kid, and I had lots of friends at church, and it was a big part of my life as a kid. But my parents and the church we went to, it was very relaxed, more liberal Christianity, and not we didn't really believe in hell, for example.
Okay.
It was more like God is love type of Christian. And more following Jesus' teachings, rather than here all these rules to follow, is more follow Jesus' teachings. Jesus' number one commandment was love other people, love each other, and it was just more be a good person type of church, or belief system.
Yeah, sounds pretty nice. Sounds like a pretty well balanced church. It had a good influence on you as a child, I guess so, because if you already, at such a young age had such so much trust in like God and universe. But for how many years as a child did you go to this church? And did you as a child actually believe in God, or?
Yeah, it's I'd say my parents were more God's love and just be a good person, not too strict. The church was, more relaxed than most churches, but it was still a pretty standard Christianity, I would say. But it was more my parents who were more just be a good person. I believed in God as a kid, but yeah, I'd say around age 17 or 18, I'm pretty sure I had an atheist or agnostic stage for a year or 2 years, and then 17 or 18, I was questioning God and all of that, and or that maybe life was just an accident or something. But around age 19, I started to think, like, reading some articles, are we in like a simulation, or like are we in the Matrix, and just opening my perspective about what life could be, and starting to read articles about spirituality, and then law of attraction, and I started to experience some synchronicities, just meaningful coincidences in my life that made me think, okay, there definitely is some higher intelligence or higher harmony to life, whether that's the God or the universe or like the Force in Star Wars, but there definitely I was having some spiritual experiences, and I'd say it was those experiences that gave me faith.
Well, it sounds really familiar to me. I wasn't pretty like hardcore atheist as well, but I went just like you through such big coincidences that after a while, you start thinking like, no, this can't be a coincidence, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you started your GoldjacketLuke channel. You talked a lot about women and dating. So you went from being a highly socially awkward guy to a pickup artist kind of guy, prankster with 500,000 subs, and then slowly transitioning into spirituality. Like how did your relationship towards women as a whole? How did your um, your relationship with women and your communication with them? How did your bond with women as general? How did it change? How did it develop?
Yeah, it uh, it took me several years, even after starting to make the GoldjacketLuke channel, to actually be confident and authentic with women. Like I wouldn't say, I started the GoldjacketLuke channel in 2013, and I made a decent amount of dating videos, which are good, but looking back, I was largely talking theory and it's good theory, but there's a difference between theory and actually having authentic, vulnerable, real interactions with women, and that's really when the theory gets embodied. Um, and we learn through the experience. So I'd say, Zan Perion and Shogo, that all that theory really helped me, and lots of what I was talking about was almost kind of taking tangents off of their theories, or combining dating stuff with spirituality in some way, or just personal development. But it really took me. I was still, even though I had done all the pickup stuff and had some fame didn't make me confident. And approaching all those girls, it almost like gave me a skill, the skill to go up and talk to girls, but it didn't actually make me confident. It was like I learned a skill, almost like I learned how to fix an oven, or I don't know, fix something in a car. It was like a skill I had, but it actually didn't affect my core confidence as a person. And I realized, I had to do kind of more deeper personal work and spiritual work to feel confident as a person. And I realized I had a lot of it was also in my interactions with a woman was just being more vulnerable. If I was insecure, to be okay about that insecurity, or even mention it. Hey, I'm feeling nervous around you. And it was almost like having that fame. It was almost like I built up this image where it was almost like even harder to be vulnerable because, I'm this cool YouTuber who has 500,000 subscribers, than to admit I had, like, if I'm talking to this girl, it'd be hard to say I had never had a serious girlfriend before. Because she'd be like, I almost had this act that I was a super confident guy who was really good with women. When behind the scenes, I was really good at approaching girls, but I actually had very little true, authentic, fulfilling connections with girls. So, and that took me several years to be able to develop that core confidence and to learn to be more vulnerable and authentic with a woman, and just improve my life in more authentic ways to me, rather than building it on my ego.
Yeah, I remember saying you saying that, your that whole pickup phase and trying to pick up hundreds of girls, it had barely any effect. That both
it's weird, yeah.
Yeah.
that's why I don't recommend it for guys. Yeah.
Like, it's not fulfilling, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like developing a skill, but it wasn't developing core confidence. And it's like, I could approach a girl and get a phone number, but that would be it.
Yeah, I've heard a story of a good friend of mine. Like, he did the whole pickup thing, and he a girl took him home actually after he approached her, and he said it was like the worst sexual experience of his life, because it felt so inauthentic, because it wasn't organic.
Yeah. And a big thing the the pickup artist almost drilled into my, yeah, it was, I had some hookups, I had a decent amount of hookups, and it always felt empty for me. And I think it's because that pickup artist mode was almost just like scanning for just hot girls and trying to attract and hook up with hot girls almost just to validate ourselves, to make us feel good about ourselves, rather than looking for a girl who we genuinely connect with, who has a similar personality or similar values. To not care too much about the hotness or the validation that girls can give us, but more actually look for a genuine connection. Like, do I genuinely can enjoy hanging out with this girl during the day, and not just use her for her body or for the validation she could give me or her hotness, but to actually find a woman that actually can be myself around with and who appreciate me just being me, and I appreciate her just being her, and we have similar values and interests, and that's so important. That's to have that genuine connection with the girl. But yeah, because to hook up with a girl drunk at a party or something, it's who you meet at a party or a bar. It's for me. It always felt empty. It was maybe good to do a couple times just for the experience, and every once in a while there would be a good connection. But overall, that was very empty for me, and and that's the kind of pickup route that I was in, and for those watching, this was like the pickup advice coming from like 8 years ago to this 2012 stuff. I think lots of the pickup guys have actually gotten more into spirituality and that type of stuff over the last several years, which is a good shift in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically this, if you're coming from the wrong place and trying to kind of manipulate a woman into bed, that's not the way to go. I guess that there are some, like Sen and Shoko say as well, there are some genuine pickup guys or romance artists, dating coaches out there who are a bit more genuine in their approach. But what you said, you want to build a bond, like a connection with a girl, and be like, hey, do I actually like hanging out with you? Also, when the whole being madly in love phase is over, right?
Yeah.
And then I believe I heard you saying as well that one of the ways to kind of to reach this, or to if you're with someone you really like and you really know that, wow, I like being with this person, she is attractive, but she's your buddy as well.
Yeah.
When like the madly in love phase goes away. But with every orgasm a man has, the more he is programmed, we are programmed like that biologically, to then search for other women, right?
Yeah.
So then you talk about, you have your own, your method for this. Can you kind of explain what it is?
Yeah, and in 2016, I read a book called Cupid's Poisoned Arrow by Marnia Robinson. And it talks about the sexual practice of Karetza, which is sex without ejaculation or orgasm, but it's more the slower sex, and it's sex that lasts a lot longer. It could last an hour or an hour and a half or even 2 hours. You just kind of have slow, more mindful sex, and it's very similar to Tantra. And one benefit is, obviously the retention benefits. It's kind of like NoFap sex, so you don't have that drain afterwards. But the biggest thing she does talk about in the book as the reason why is that when we have sex and we ejaculate or orgasm, it signals the reptilian part of the brain, or the mammalian part of the brain. I'm not sure that I got to brush up on my science, but it signals this part of the brain that, okay, my evolutionary duty here is done. And it's, it's kind of the classic scene in lots of movies where there's a sex scene or a lovemaking scene, and then immediately afterwards, the guy either rolls over and falls asleep, or the guy leaves. And it's like after we ejaculate or orgasm, just the desire we have for our mate often decreases a lot. and yeah, it's like we're signaling our and they've done this experiment with like I believe it was hamsters or rats, where you put a male rat with a female rat and they have sex, and then they're good, and maybe they'll have sex again 2 hours later or something. But if you put in a male rat with a female rat and they have sex, and then you put another female rat in, a new female rat, the male rat will immediately have sex with that new female rat, and you put another female rat in immediately afterwards, and the male will keep going like 10 times as long as there's a new female, because it almost feels like there's this evolutionary duty to spread your seed. And so it's kind of the same with the book series. It's the same with human relationships. Is after if you ejaculate or orgasm a lot with the girl, it's almost like your subconscious reptilian or animal brain is going, hey, I already fertilized this girl 500 or 50 times this year, or 50 times over the last 3 months. And it's like, okay, I've done my job of spreading my seed, and now my evolutionary biology is signaling me to find new mates. And that's, typically when the honeymoon stage ends. So what Marnia Robinson suggests is having more Kreza, slow sex, where you don't ejaculate an orgasm. And she says in her experience and with so many people she's talked to, and then the Taoists talk about this too, and then some Tantra and some other traditions, that the intimacy and passion more stays long term. Once you minimize or eliminate ejaculations or orgasms during sex, because that signal, and you need to find new mates, your evolutionary duty of fertilizing the squirrels is complete. That signal doesn't get, because you're not ejaculating all the time or orgasming, that signal doesn't happen with Kreza, and it's a way to have more stable and harmonious long-term relationships. So it's a theory that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it's a very interesting theory to me as well, and I think that it kind of taps on this whole hypersexualized society we have right now, with all the porn and all the hypersexual, the hypersexualized pop culture advertisements.
Everywhere, movies, music, peer pressure, everything is sex in our culture.
Yeah, exactly, and I guess what you're saying right now,
Instagram, Tinder,
yeah, it's everywhere. Like, social media, I think, is the worst. I think it's even worse than the traditional media and Hollywood right now.
Yeah.
And so yeah, what you're saying here, you're only like scratching the surface. Caressa would already make it would make a lot of people healthier and relationships healthier. But it's just one element. I think we need 1,000 more elements and 1,000 more solutions to, not that there's anything wrong with sex, or that there's anything wrong with a hookup now and then,
sure,
or whatever, but it's more like, why are you doing it, and where are people coming from? And they're coming from a bad place. That's why they're so extremely engaged in all of this, and all of this hypersexual behavior, right? Yeah.
Completely agreed. Yeah, if someone's posting something on social media, are they posting it because they genuinely want to share, or are they posting it because they want to get validation and get those likes and impress their friends or impress whoever, it's like our whole culture is very ego oriented. So there's, just becoming aware of this, and then stuff like meditation is huge to more ground us and center us to who we actually are and what our true desires are, not just what our ego thinks we are. But our whole societies are largely based on ego desire, and making as much money, and our society is backwards in lots of ways.
Yeah, and then the weird thing is that a lot of these companies that are running these elements, like the social media companies and TikTok and all of that, they're kind of presenting themselves as these woke, really really progressive kind of forces that are really good for society, and it's good for people's mental health, and experimenting,
about how it brings people together. And, Yeah, it's
Have you seen that? Yeah.
hippie-ish or
Yeah. When it's kind of
yeah,
being presented as this really
I've
progressive,
seen that a
healthy,
lot. Yeah,
both porn and also like all of these social media
yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. Porn is health. If you don't look at porn, you're repressing your sexuality, and it's just a healthy sexual outlet. And yeah, it's just completely backward stuff. And Facebook is going to bring you together with everyone and help connect the world when it's created a whole bunch of addicts and who spend all their time looking at a screen instead of actually connecting with people in the real world. Um, there's this whole woke culture that's completely backwards, and I think the whole youth is feeling it. It's like something isn't right. I feel like lots of
Hmm.
people look back fondly on like our parents or grandparents' generation who didn't have computers or iPhones that they were plugged into all day, and I almost feel like everyone our age or younger, and are just there are so many people addicted to porn or social media or on their phone 7 hours a day or 6 hours a day or something insane, and it's pretty scary, especially for like young kids who maybe get their own phone when they're quite young and they're wiring their brain to be on pixels 5 hours a day or something. It's very scary. Yeah.
Yeah, you see a lot of these like children with smartphones, and yeah, they're addicted to these apps. They're addicted to validation, and then you have I've heard that there are many, like people with bad intentions on platforms like TikTok and all of that, and then you have all of these young children like who possibly thinks that
Crazy.
this could go right.
Crazy. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. And with porn, so many people, lots of my clients, they start looking at porn when they're like 11 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old, which is so young. And they get addicted. They're 15 years old and they're addicted to porn, which is so young. And lots of the older generation has no clue how many young kids are, how many young people are getting hooked on porn and how young lots of kids are looking at porn.
Yeah, it's a
And
real
there's
epidemic,
crazy.
right?
It's a hidden
Yeah.
epidemic for sure. Yeah.
And if you read all of the comments online from these young men about what they're going through, or sometimes it's such a young age, or when they're like our age, and how messed up they are, and their brains are, and
Yeah.
it's yeah, that it
Crazy.
didn't became like the new big thing reported by the media. That's kind of weird.
Yeah. It's like this hidden epidemic where hundreds of thousands, millions of guys are addicted to porn, and a decent amount of women too. And it's like no one talks about it. And lots of these guys or girls go to therapists and they say, "Hey, I have a porn addiction. I need help." And the therapists say, "Oh, porn isn't. You can't even be addicted to porn. That's not even a problem." And that's which is you go to someone for help, you pay them for help, and they don't even say you have a problem, and that'll mess with your brain too. And um, so I think more and more science is coming out, and more therapists are waking up that porn is highly addictive for lots of people, and it has lots of detrimental effects. I've shared about this a lot on my channel, how I used to be addicted to porn, and how there's so many benefits to quitting porn, and also quitting or reducing masturbation. Um, and yeah, that's a big way my channel has morphed over the last 3 years, is talking about that, because it's such a big problem for guys today and some girls.
Yeah, so to kind of scratch the surface here, because I know that you have so much material on your channel about how to quit porn, but if you could, let's say, name some of the pillars, like the main pillars that you need in order to
Yeah,
beat this addiction, what would you name?
great, great question. Yeah, one would just be education. So just kind of getting familiar, learning about porn addiction and the effects of porn. So my favorite website to refer people to is yourbrainonporn.com, and there's also a book, Your Brain on Porn, which is just a short, concise, but very powerful book explaining a little bit of the science of porn addiction, the symptoms, how people feel when they're on the other side, and some practical tips. So yourbrainonporn.com is excellent. Or watch, do some Google or YouTube searches about NoFap and hear what other people are saying. But education is one of the best things. Um, two would be kind of just be more mindful about your technology. So maybe if someone often looks at porn at night, it's not being on their phone or computer after 9:30 p.m. or something like that, but being more mindful about your technology and, maybe creating a bedtime ritual or a morning ritual or an after work ritual, and being more mindful about your technology usage, because lots of times porn addictions are connected with internet or social media addictions as well. They're very parallel. Another thing would be just social support and accountability. So whether that's having some friends who are trying to quit porn or doing NoFap, and just supporting each other, keeping each other accountable, checking in on each other, and making it more of a team effort. And this is similar to Alcoholics Anonymous. Alcoholics who want to get over their alcohol addiction, they go to AA meetings, and it's kind of this, it provides the support and makes it more of a kind of like a team effort, and a feeling of they're not alone, and they support each other and help each other. And I think porn addicts really need that too, that just social support and community. And then a coach like me or a therapist could be another great option for people who want to take it up an additional notch. So accountability partner, coach, therapist. And then another thing is just improving your life in general, just finding more connection and happiness and progressing on your goals and just improving your life in general. So those reasons why someone turns to porn, maybe it's boredom, maybe it's stress, maybe it's loneliness, maybe it's depression, but it's more, okay, how can I have a happier life and have better, maybe make some more friends or improve my friendships and spend more time with friends and family or go on some more dates. But it's like kind of go after and improving those root causes of those negative emotions of why someone would turn to porn in the first place. And then I say the last thing is trying to have some replacement activities. So whether it's meditation, cold showers, exercise, yoga, hanging out with friends, calling a friend, taking walks, breathing exercises, reading, but just having some other healthier activities that they can replace what they used to for replacement activities compared to when they were using porn. But it's tough. Lots of people really struggle, and it takes effort and time. But everyone I've talked to, and including my own experience, to overcome porn, they just feel so many benefits, and it's such a worthwhile journey.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thanks for sharing this. By the way, have you heard of the trafficking hub thing?
I have, yeah. And I saw just a couple of days ago that MasterCard and Visa cut ties with Pornhub, which I thought was excellent. And Pornhub deleted a bunch of videos, which I think is excellent. Yeah, because for those not aware, and maybe you know more than me, it's like there was lots of trafficking videos and underage videos and abusive videos and videos, revenge porn, and videos that lots of victims had videos on Pornhub that they did not consent to, and Pornhub, they would report them and Pornhub wouldn't take them down, and there was just all sorts of really messed up things Pornhub and other websites were doing. And finally it got some attention in politics, and MasterCard and Visa cut ties, and and it looks like lots of those websites are deleted in a bunch of videos and stuff. So I think that's really good, because it's a really messed up industry, and all the abuse and trafficking and stuff that is created from those websites is sickening. It's disgusting. And they almost got this free pass. What do you know about that? I don't know. Politicians didn't want to talk about it or something because it's taboo to talk about porn. I don't know, but it's great that there was finally stuff is finally improvement, and Pornhub being called out. That's I think it's great news. Yeah. What do you know about that, Urban? I know a little bit, but you might know more than me.
Yeah, well, I found this out like a year ago or something about the trafficking hub. I believe it's a woman whose daughter got abducted and raped, and people pointed out that her daughter was actually on Pornhub while she was being raped.
So messed up, yeah.
Yeah, like completely messed up. And then so she started this petition. And in the beginning, people wouldn't really listen, but then it got really huge. And what I like mostly about it, Luke, is that this is just like the most messed up thing is that this is only one aspect of how messed up porn is, right?
Yeah.
If we this is just one aspect, like the whole rape and abduction and child pornography, which is also, by the way, what Trafficking Hub is all about. It's also about the fact that there are many children on Pornhub.
Yeah.
That's also what the New York Times article is about that blew all of this up, and I'm thankful for this man eternally. Yeah, because he has the power and he did what's right.
Yeah, it's rare. Yeah, it's great when a journalist actually stands up for what's right and calls someone out who needs to be called out. So yeah, big respect to that journalist. Yeah,
exactly. There's just one thing that I'd like to add is that there's so much other really messed up stuff on Pornhub. I guess many of your clients would agree.
Yeah.
Some of it is actually, a lot of it is also consensual, but it is also really confusing, really sexist. There's also a lot of racist material on it.
Like, also, every messed up thing, yeah. And
yeah.
Some of my clients, their tastes escalate. It's like the vanilla porn doesn't quite do it. There's more of a rush from this weird or messed up or toxic. Toxic, people don't like that word anymore, but yeah, messed up porn in some way, that there's something not right here.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll hope, and I also think that Trafficking Hub will be kind of like a stepping stone to a newer place where we will be able as a society to discuss these kind of issues without being labeled only as, as these really hyper conservative, stuck up people, right?
Yeah, I really hope so. Yeah. And I think it is that, blew the top off of this. Yeah. Just how messed up porn is. And, just go to the most viewed of any porn website, and it's never loving porn. It's always gangbangs or some power dynamic or something abusive, or incest, and it's like all it's all messed up stuff. And think about all the 14-year-olds who are jerking off to that and wiring their sexuality to that day by day for years and years, and it's really messed up, and how it's really changing people's distortions of healthy sexuality and relationships and the opposite sex. And I'm sure contributing to divorces and unhappy relationships and men and women being angry at each other, and guys think girls like having this being done to them in bed, and and I've talked to some guys that they want to have more intimate, normal sex with the girl, but the girl thinks she's supposed to act like a porn star because she thinks that's what guys like. And porn has completely morphed all of our thinking on what loving, healthy sexuality should be. We don't have sex ed, really. Most people don't have a very maybe basic sex ed. I think it's better in Europe than America. But most people learn about sex through porn, which is like the worst place to learn about sex,
Yeah, exactly. What you're saying right now is so interesting because mostly guys are messed up when it comes to porn. But the son of a female friend of mine, he has actually dated a porn addicted girl, and she only wanted to have like this really specific type of sex where she was being really dramatic, and where he had to do all kinds of things to her, and like he told me after a while, like he was really just not into having sex with her anymore because it felt so inauthentic,
Yeah, wow, yeah.
Yeah, because porn is really programming these young people. That's what people have to understand. If you after a while you become what you consume, right? So if you're consuming pornography, which is really, like really distorted. And like you said, there's always a power dynamic. There's always like either the woman or the man is always controlling the other. And it's a lot of times it's hateful and very, it's very looking down on someone. And if this
Yep.
is what you're consuming as a child when your brain is still developing, this is what's not directly what you become, but this is what is your main influence.
Big time, yeah. And neurons that fire together wire together. So if someone's wiring their sexuality to all this messed up porn, that's going to change their sexual response. And there's so many guys who struggle with porn-induced erectile dysfunction where they can't get erections or get really weak erections with real women because they're so used to jerking off to pixels and screens all the time that a real woman, it's like their dick stops working, which is, for a guy in his teens or 20s, a 20-year-old guy should not be having issues that an 8-year-old man has,
Yeah, exactly. And large prostate, right? Prostate cancer and prostate issues, pain in the prostate, like issues that used to be really rare for young men.
And then also just depression and anxiety and loneliness. There's studies that porn affects our prefrontal cortex and our hyperfrontality and decreases gray matter. And there's this all sorts of physical, psychological, spiritual, societal problems that porn is causing that definitely still needs a lot more attention.
Yeah, and also what you're saying, like I remember, like when I was done with binging, right, for like one day, like I would be depressed immediately. I would be so somber, right?
Yeah.
And if I wouldn't quit the next day, then this somberness would be just every day, like daily, like this really strong, present, just deep, dark feeling, and I could only kind of feel normal again after drinking some alcohol, which is really, really messed up.
Yeah, so it's porn really affects our brain and our hormones, and it's just turns us into this zombie. We're just hooked into the matrix. Yeah, especially after like a binge, it's just sucks our life force up right out.
Yeah. So another man who talks a lot about pornography is Jordan Peterson, and I heard you talking a lot about his philosophy. I believe you read his book, 12 Rules for Life. Is that true?
I have. Yeah.
So what do
taught me a lot.
Yeah, tell me something about what did you learn from Jordan Peterson?
Specifically about porn or just life in general?
Well, life in general, maybe.
Yeah. I guess just really, just taking responsibility for one's life. And it's like he talks about before you criticize the room, before you criticize the world, clean your room. And he just talks about how in our culture, it's just important to take care of yourself, clean your room, take responsibility for yourself, work hard. And, just this idea of personal responsibility, and it all starts with the individual really connected with me, and I'm also just lots of things about psychology and spirituality. He's just said lots of things over the years that I've seen that just clicks and dot in my mind. I'm having trouble thinking of an exact example, but I like how he talks about his perspective on porn. Is he says it's reward without effort. It's like you get to see, it's teaching you that you don't need to put in work. It's like you just put on your screen and you're pretending you're having sex with these hot girls. But real life doesn't work like that. In real life, you actually have to work on yourself as a man and put yourself out there and have anxiety, but go to some social events where you might talk to a girl and talking to a girl takes vulnerability and an emotional connection, and that porn is it's almost like sugar or fast food. It's like this dopamine hit without actually putting in effort or actually having to work for it, and that just trains your brain to just almost feel entitled. And when we take away the porn and we stop masturbating. We actually be like, hey, if I actually want intimacy or sexual connection, I actually have to clean my apartment. I gotta start working out. I gotta leave my apartment and actually talk to some girls. And it's like, and that's how life works. Life requires effort. And I remember he had some good thoughts about porn regarding that.
Yes, I believe he is also like a big inspiration to many other young men and boys out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, he talks a lot about he is also combining science with spirituality and religion, right,
Yeah.
which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
And another man who did this a lot was Carl Jung. I also heard he was also like one of your big inspirations. Actually, right now I'm really reading into him. So I like.
Nice. I like Jung a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you name one thing, for example, that really impacted you or that influenced you that Carl Jung wrote? Because I'm really diving into his material right now.
Yeah. He coined the term synchronicity, which is just a meaningful coincidence or some connection between your internal world and external world. Like I remember once I hadn't seen a friend for 3 years and I was thinking about that friend and literally my phone starts ringing and it's that friend who calls me.
Wow.
And it's just stuff like that. For me, Jung almost provided this context where religion and spirituality isn't just this theory and things you read in books, but it could actually be this thing that you experience and this lived experience. And so the concept of synchronicity is a big thing I got from Jung. And also he talks about kind of like, it could be called depth psychology or personal psychology. I'm not sure. I forgot the term exactly, but it's, at first we have our personas, which is our, kind of the superficial level that we present to the world. Maybe we meet a stranger and that's who we show the world. And then we also have an ego, and we also have a shadow self, and then we have our true self, which is, our very true self, and, how we have to be like, for example, the shadows maybe are kind of more dark desires, maybe our desire for validation or, it could be power or something, and it's important to bring that shadow out of our unconscious and actually to become conscious of it, because when we become conscious of it, it no longer controls our life behind the scenes unconsciously, at this desire for approval or something. So to become aware of our shadow, which is our kind of our insecure personality, and to be aware of that, and then it's interesting because he doesn't say just completely ignore your shadow, but you kind of have to love it and even integrate the shadow in a healthy way. So I really like his perspective on just our persona, our ego, our shadow, our true self, and then underneath our true self is the collective unconscious, where we're all connected in some way, and how ideas kind of raise up through the collective unconsciousness into our own personal consciousnesses. So for example, maybe me thinking about that friend for 3 years ago, that was kind of like the collective consciousness communicating to me, and then the collective consciousness was communicating to that friend too, or something, or those thoughts arose simultaneously in two separate people, but at the same time. And and that was kind of his difference between Jung and Freud, is Freud didn't think there was a collective unconsciousness, but Jung thought there was this kind of energy or consciousness that kind of links everyone together, and that kind of connected with me and kind of helped me more believe in spirituality and experience it.
Yes, well, it sounds sounds great. It's kind of similar to my way how I'm kind of reading about him right now. By the way, did you also read about the anima, which is also a part of?
Oh yeah. I forgot the anima. Yeah. So that's another part of the depth psychology structure. Yeah. So the anima is the female part of a guy, or or for a guy I think it's called the animus, is the masculine part of a woman, and how everyone every guy has a feminine aspect of ourselves that we have to integrate and honor. Yeah. And we often project that, onto other people. And
exactly. It's something that I'm sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead. So that's something you've been learning about?
Yeah, I've been learning about lately, and
what have you learned about it?
Really hit home, and it's influencing me a lot because this is exactly the thing that Sam Perrion is talking about when he's talking about the upper feminine energy.
Yeah.
And I think that the animus and the anima is also not only when we talk about our current society, but when we want to talk about our developments and not our fears and our being strong and rational, but also being more vulnerable and empathetic and kind of balancing this out, right?
Big time, 100%, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. So, kind of the last thing that I want to ask you is a guy who really influenced me as well was Shogo Garcia.
Yeah.
And I sent his channel to many of my friends, and some of them liked him a lot as well. And awesome. Then someday he completely just vanished. Nothing happened. Never heard of him again.
Yeah.
Which to me is, it's really unfortunate. But do you know what happened to him, or?
Yeah, and me and him were really close friends for a while, where we hung out and talked quite a bit, and he kind of he started he has a law degree and he started practicing the law. I'm not sure, just to make some extra money, or he thought he would go back into law for, I don't know, maybe like a year or something, and kind of take a break from his YouTube stuff. But I think he got caught into it, and it just started becoming really busy, and it got just started getting lots of cases for the group he works with, and I think he was working like 70 hours a week or something insane, and just doing all of this law work. And I kind of lost touch with him, and I talked to some other friends, and they said they haven't heard from him in a while either. And actually, 3 months ago, I just sent him a text. Yeah, hey, I miss you. We got in touch, and I actually, me and him had a FaceTime two months ago, and we caught up. And he just told me, hey, sorry, I've been really busy with the law work, and we just caught up. And he said he said his goal is to finish up with the law work soon, and to get back on YouTube and get back to content creation. So that made me really happy.
Oh wow, yeah.
Hear that intention, and that his goal is to come back to YouTube and doing a social generation website and his coaching and his YouTube channel. And he plans on. He said he might have like another 9 months of law work to do or something, so it might be a ways away. But he's an awesome guy. He's really positively impacted my life and what I've learned from him and his channel and his personal mentorship. And that was great to hear that he plans on being back on YouTube and creating content in 9 months or so. So that was really great to be back in contact with him. Yeah, he's a really awesome guy.
Yeah, that's such great news. Also for all the people, because many people are still subscribed to him, and it's like this became this archive. Whenever you're kind of you're thinking about something, you dive into his content, right? Well, this gives me a new goal to get him in my podcast someday.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
That's gonna be my new goal.
In 9 months or so, he said he plans on being back. So, I'd be very interested in hearing that podcast. So I hope that happens. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm really immensely grateful that you wanted to be in my podcast.
It's an honor, Urban. Yeah, thank you for inviting me on.
I wrote a lot of questions down. Most of them, we just talked about them organically.
Great.
Yeah, we got from one to the other, and I really feel like we it was a pretty well-rounded conversation where we brought in all of the topics that I wanted to discuss. So
this is an excellent conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, I really feel I feel like it was.
And thank you for asking me lots of these questions. It's you know, I wish I asked you more questions and to hear your more perspective on these things. But it was this is really great for me because it caused me to reflect on my. I haven't thought about those pickup days much in a long time, and and those more early stuff. So it was, I appreciate you asking me those questions because it's I haven't reflected on that time period in a while. So yeah, thanks for asking me those questions and you know causing me to reflect back on earlier times. This was lots of fun, and I really appreciate this podcast. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, well, apparently this was something useful for the both of us, and this is not going to be our last podcast together, if it's on me.
Definitely.
Luke, I wanna thank you, and have a nice day, man.
Thanks. Yeah.
This was the Nano Brown podcast. I would like to ask you a favor since you came this far. This podcast is growing to more than 1,000 downloads. It may not sound like a lot, but for me it's a huge deal that I can reach this many people. I am on all big platforms such as Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Deezer, and soon I am moving all of my content to YouTube as well. Please like, subscribe, and if you know anyone who would like this podcast, please tell them about it. Again guys, thank you so much for listening and have a nice day.